Okay, well, first and foremostly, it's an absolute pleasure to be standing here with Mark, who has been an enormous driver of what is the only national club that we have in our city and our region, the amazing Cairns Taipans. I am so pleased to be able to work with the Taipans to announce that they have secured funding to be able to embark upon a trip across the Pacific Ocean to the United States, where they will be playing both in the US and also up in Canada. The opportunity for our city and for our region carried by the Taipans ticks off in a number of areas. First and foremostly, for the Taipans themselves, this gets their name out into one of the most competitive national basketball institutions in the world, being the US and in Canada. It is enormous. The exposure and building of the brand, which will be fantastic for our region. But secondly, and most importantly, it builds the exposure of Cairns. The Taipans are also our ambassadors, and they will continue to travel and carry our name. And that will obviously and hopefully will push more people towards looking at the beautiful part of the world where they come from. It's a spectacular win for our region. It's a fantastic win for our national team here in Cairns. It really is. It's been a lot of work. It has been absolutely well deserved, and I'm so pleased to be able to say the government is very, very happy to be supportive of this outstanding initiative. Mark.
Thank you, Michael. Well said. I probably won't go as long as that. But it's quite humbling for everyone involved in the club to be able to write history, and this will certainly do that as we enter our 25th year in the NBL. It's important that we pay a lot of gratitude to the stakeholders that have been involved in putting this together, and firstly to the NBL and their support. This did start a long time ago in terms of discussions, and Jeremy Lolinga from the NBL at the coalface of those negotiations with the NBA and the NBA clubs themselves, and then the offer through the NBL to our club at the end of last season. So that's how far back this initiative has been building. But importantly, from then until now, the discussions with Michael Healy, this isn't the first time. We actually tried in 2019-20 to take the Taipans to the States and play an NBA game, and a little thing called a pandemic got in the way. So the irony for it being our 25th year, and to continue to work with Michael and the Queensland government through Tourism Events Queensland to help support this trip has been tremendous, and we certainly couldn't do it without that support. We're excited. We're really, from a team perspective and the player recruiting perspective, for the coaches, having this form part of the discussions and negotiations to recruit talent, and you'll see why when we get on floor how exciting this team is. But to say that we have these games potentially coming down the line was certainly a big part of the roster that you'll see on the floor this year. So once again, thanks to the NBL, certainly thanks to Queensland Government, to Tourism Events Queensland and Michael Healy personally for all of his support of the club over a long period of time, and as well as this event. So thank you. I think you've seen from teams in the past that have travelled to the US, Adelaide was a great example. It really put a spotlight on their ability to win a game over there. But for the coaches, certainly for 40 and the coaching staff, to have these games was certainly a big carrot in our recruiting and our discussions with players this year. For them, it exposes them to another level. We've got 3 players potentially nominating for next year's NBA draft, and to be playing against NBA teams, I think there'll be the highest number of scouts this year at the Blitz in the Gold Coast, and I anticipate that will be the same when we play over in the States.
What will this do for the fan base? I mean, seeing last season, seeing the seats fill up just from one year, I guess, how do you think seeing them go over and play in the US and Canada is going to boost that fan base and boost ticket sales here? Well,
I think first and foremost, I think the club and its fans have everything to be really proud of. The fact that we're going to travel to the US and to Canada to represent Far North Queensland, to put the city on the spotlight, is the first and foremost really gratifying part of this whole process and this opportunity. I think secondly, the team that we're putting together will drive the bums on seats, and this is you feel over a long period of time when you walk in the gym in the pre-season this energy about the group, and this one is totally different to what we've had before, and I think it comes about by our youth, our exciting style of play, and I think the fans will really respond to that.
for the people who've been part of this club for either all of or most of that 25 years, how does this feel knowing that this community-owned club, this small club that you started 25 years ago, is now going to go overseas and play NBA clubs?
Well, as I said at the start, I think that's one of the most humbling parts about it. This opportunity to write history for the club doesn't come around, and for our club being that small community club, it takes a long time. It takes a long time to put an event like this together across, and you need great stakeholders, and all of our partners, as I said, the NBL and Queensland Government have been incredible in assisting our ability to do this. Without that support, we wouldn't be going. But I think, we're excited to go and represent Cairns really well, and for the players, that opportunity to be alongside NBA players, that exposure, that international brand, I think will carry a long way. And the fans who have supported us for a long time, a lot to be proud of.
And I think, just to add to that, thanks, Mark, the reality is, we're not owned by a billionaire or a millionaire. We're a grassroots operation, and it's owned by the city. So, we shouldn't be disadvantaged. And my job is to advocate on behalf of the community. There's no reason why we shouldn't be doing what other wealthy clubs do. We should be travelling around the world. We've got the best products in the world. We've got a team that is absolutely outstanding and getting better. There is great enthusiasm, huge community support. So I think it's incumbent upon us as government to be able to give some of the taxpayers' money back to ensure that our team, our only national team, gets the same opportunities that some of the bigger clubs in other cities and across our country will get. We shouldn't be disadvantaged, and I don't think we should see that. And that was the pitch, and I'll tell you what, you don't get any more genuine than that.
Michael, how much did the state put up for this?
Enough to get the deal done. Yeah. So it is commercial in confidence, but what I can say is that, as Mark has touched on, there were a number of discussions prior to COVID, and it was quite a discussion, because it's like, well, it is a bit of money. What are going to be the benefits? And the key issue is, as Mark has touched on, if you look at the stakeholders involved in the Taipans, if you look at the history, if you look at the involvement of community, we shouldn't be disadvantaged because we don't have a billionaire or a millionaire is running us. We are a grassroots club. So that was one of the really strong points. It's like we should be able to have those advantages. And then you look at the performance, you look at community support, you look at the way that the team performs, particularly socially. I mean, they're out there, they're engaging, they're a community-based organisation. Apart from, they're winners too, and they're great kids, and they continue to do well. So this is a real good win.
How does this play into, I guess, the work that's going on at the moment? We've got an Olympics in 9 years' time. We want to attract more sporting events here, and we want to get people from overseas here. I guess, is this going to play into that in terms of marketing us to the US?
Yeah, really good point. I think what you'll see is that part of this trip will be building exposure and awareness of the quality that we have in this country, but not just in our capital cities, in regional areas. And we'll be spending $40+ million on Barlow Park for Olympic infrastructure. I think the real benefits for the Olympics for our region aren't going to be the 2 weeks or the 6 weeks of the Olympic and Paralympic Games. The real benefit's going to be the people, not just the tourists coming and going around that period and the exposure that we get, but it's going to be having other sporting organisations come in. And as we saw recently the national basketball team using infrastructure at Cairns State High. We want to grow the infrastructure in our region, and we want to see more groups coming in. We've got fantastic track and field facilities here. We've got a world-class 50-metre swimming pool that has been used by the Australian swimming team. We know that we're going to be attracting other teams. So the benefits will be what we're always been good at, and that is people visiting our region, not only to exercise, not only to prepare for their Olympics and get their preparation sorted, but also to enjoy the beautiful tropics and meet some of the fantastic people that live here and call this place home.